Hello students, once again I welcome you all to our another session. In this session, I would like to talk on Nissim Ezekiel's very Indian poem in Indian English. In the previous session, which was purely an introduction to Nissim Ezekiel, we talked about his biographic details, literary works, and the other major contributions made by him to the world of English literature. Now, in this class, I would like to continue with the appreciation of this poem. But before I start the critical appreciation of the poem, I would like to highlight some of the features of Indian Pidgin English. If you see the people using English in India, and they continue to commit different types of errors or the mistakes. If you try to categorize these mistakes committed by the Indian people, I think you will be able to label them as follows. The most common mistake that the Indian people commit while speaking in English is the reduplication of words and verbs. I don't know why, but unnecessarily people keep on repeating the same word. Number two, Indians are very fond of using articles. Sometimes they are nowhere required. Still, they continue to use it, whether it is the case with the definite article or indefinite article. And they don't bother to apply some or the other article. One more thing that you find in their spoken context is the use of definite articles excessively. So they sometimes ignore the indefinite article a or an, but they excessively use the definite article. Another most prominent feature of Indian speakers is the excessive use of continuous tense. For no reason, the Indians make the progressive sentences. And the last but not the least, one more mistake that I usually find among the Indians is the omission of an obligatory pronoun which is very much required in the sentence. So these are the mistakes that the Indian generally commit while using English for communicative purpose. So friends, now I would like to recite the poem, very Indian poem in Indian English. First of all, I will recite the poem right from the beginning till end, and afterwards I will try to critically appreciate the text of the poem. So let us see now the recitation of the poem. I am standing for peace and non-violence. Why world is fighting? Why all people of world are not following Mahatma Gandhi? I am simply not understanding. Ancient Indian wisdom is 100% correct. I should say even 200% correct. But modern generation is neglecting. Too much going for fashion and foreign things. One day, I am reading in newspaper. Every day I am reading Times of India to improve my English. How one Gunda fellow throws stone at Indraben. Must be student, undressed fellow. I am thinking Friends, Romans, countrymen, I am saying to myself, lend me the years. Everything is coming. Regeneration, remuneration, contrast, contraception. Be patiently, brothers and sisters. You want one glass lassi, very good for digestion. With little salt, lovely drink, better than wine. Not that I am ever testing the wine. I am the total teetotaler, completely total. But I say wine is for the drunkards only. What do you think of prospects of world peace? Pakistan behave Pakistan behaving like this, China behaving like that. It is making me very sad. I am telling you, really, most harassing me. All men are brothers, no? In India also, Gujaratis, Maharashtrians, Hindi balas, all brothers. Though some are having funny habits, still you tolerate me. I tolerate you. One day, Ram Rajya is surely coming. You are going, but you will visit again, anytime, any day. I am not believing in ceremony. Always I am enjoying your company. So, this is the text of the poem, very Indian poem in Indian English, written by Nissim Ezekiel. So, friends, probably you might have understood the actual theme of the poem also. As far as the beginning of the poem is concerned, you will realize that all the technicalities that we find in English language, specifically created by the Indian speakers, is minutely inducted by the poet here. So this is the most important aspect that you will realize. And if you minutely study the grammar and the selection of words by the poet, you will definitely accept one thing, that such kind of expressions are generally made by many number of Indian people while using English for communication purpose. So let us look at the poem in the critical point of view. If you see the beginning, the narrator himself is making a proclamation that he is the admirer of Mahatma Gandhi, the follower of Mahatma Gandhi, and he is always standing by the principle of peace and non-violence. It indicates that he has certain belief in the image created throughout the world, that of Mahatma Gandhi as a follower of truth, peace, and non-violence, and he happens to be one of the followers over there. And that's why right in the beginning he says, I am standing for peace and non-violence. Why world is fighting? Now he is complaining. He is complaining against the people and the countries all over the world, those who are constantly involved in some or the other conflict. As you know, many people are conflicting or confronting with one another because of caste, creed, religion, and then color, belonging, region, so on and so on. Similarly, there are many countries which are involved into a kind of conflict, and they too have rivalship for each other or one another. That's why the narrator is making a point very clear here that he is a follower of Mahatma Gandhi and he loves the principles of peace and non-violence. Whereas he is trying to say that the world is totally, uh, you know, occupied by the people, those who have some or the other conflicts with others, and that is something not really good for the entire world and for the better survival of humanity. Then he says, I am simply not understanding. He is also complaining that he is unable to understand the people and the cause of their conflict. He is trying to perceive the matter very carefully, but unable to get the actual pulse of it. Later on, the narrator shifts his focus from the international conflict and the need of peace and non-violence in the world. He shifts to the Indian values, culture, Indian wisdom, and all. He says, ancient Indian wisdom is 100% correct. So he is damn sure that whatever is Indian and that too ancient Indian, especially the wisdom, culture, values, ethics, morality, and so on, all these things are absolutely correct. There is no doubt about it. He is damn sure. That's why he says, I should say even 200% correct. But another complaint that he is making here is about the modern generation or the next generation people. What is the complaint? What is this complaint all about? He complains that the modern generation is continuously avoiding or neglecting the Indian values, Indian system, Indian wisdom, and the culture that we belong to. That's why he says the new generation or the present generation is simply running after the fashion and imported or the foreign things. And that's what is the major complaint of this narrator over here in the first part of the poem. Now I switch over to the next part of the poem. Here, the narrator has told us that he is a regular reader of a newspaper, that is the Times of India. But the way he expresses it, now you see, other day, I am reading in newspaper. See here. Again, there are the issues related to the use of grammar and compromising grammar for, I don't know what kind of meaning purpose the narrator is really doing. But he says so. And he may be going through a news column in which he happens to read that there was one Gunda fellow, uh, Mustanda or a Gunda, and he threw a stone at Indrabel. So that was the incident which was described over there, maybe in the newspaper. And that's why he is making a special reference to that particular event that he read in the newspaper. But he has also told us the cause of reading newspaper. Since he is very particular to improve his own standard of English, and in order to improve his own English language, he is consistently and regularly reading Times of India. Must be student unrest fellow, I am thinking. In another expressions, he adds that there are the students groups, those who are supposed to be in the pursuit of knowledge and academics, but instead of pursuing knowledge and academics, the present students are simply unnecessarily getting involved in the political affairs, and which is really not a fair thing according to him. Similarly, he also makes a reference to Antony, Antony of Rome. Probably those who have read William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, they will come to know about it. Here, in the last section of this particular stanza, he says, "Friends, Romans, countrymen, I am saying to myself, lend me the ears." Actually, after the assassination of Julius Caesar, and later at the time of the cremation of the dead body of Julius Caesar, all the prestigious people, all the politicians like Casca, Cassius, Marcus Brutus, Antony, Octavius, they were delivering their own speeches. And here, when Antony was delivering his speech, he is requesting the Roman people to look into the past and compare and contrast with the present. And that's why he says, "Lend me the ears, Romans and countrymen." So, this way, a kind of appeal was made by Antony. Now, I will switch over to the third part of this poem. Here, the narrator says, "Everything is coming: regeneration, remuneration, contraception. Be patiently, brothers and sisters." Here we remember Swami Vivekananda's lecture or speech that he delivered in Chicago, and he started with the expression like this: "Brothers and sisters of America." As soon as he uttered it, there was the overwhelming response and appreciation by the audience. So here, our narrator is requesting by saying everybody around, the brothers and sisters, and trying to convince them that they should be patient enough, because whatever we need in life is of course available for us. It is coming from different resources or sources. There is regeneration, there is revival, there is remuneration, salaries we are receiving, and we receive whatever needs that we have. But we have to have certain patience in life. And immediately he switches to the another kind of comparison. What does the narrator says here? You want one lassi glass or glass of lassi. So here he is trying to present a contradiction between the two approaches to life. One approach is the Indian approach, another approach is the British approach. If you see the Indian cuisine, lassi forms one of the very important aspects of our cuisine, Indian cuisine. But when it comes to the British people or European people, wine forms one of the aspects of the cuisine. And here, if you see that, uh, especially in Punjab, Haryana, and some other parts of the country also, sometimes immediately after the food also the people consume a glass of lassi. So that's what I'm saying, like it is the most important aspect of our Indian cuisine. And here, if you see that, lassi represents Oriental or Indian values, whereas the wine represents the European or the British values. And by the means of this particular expression, the narrator is trying to give us a sense that there is a conflict between the Oriental and the Western people. Of course, this is the ideological conflict. So the poet says, you want one glass of lassi? Very good for digestion. With little salt, lovely drink. So here in these three lines, he describes the importance of lassi. He talks about the characteristics of lassi. He tells us that as soon as you just add a pinch of salt, it will enhance the taste and you will of course like it very much. Now you see, on the other hand, he says better than wine. Here is a comparison between two drinkable stuffs like lassi and wine. So he says better than wine. Not that I am ever tasting the wine. I am the total teetotaler, completely total. But I say wine is for drunkards only. So here he makes an announcement that he is not a drunkard. He never tasted even a single sip of wine, but still he is in a position to make a comparison between wine and lassi and the other characteristics of both the items. So here he says he is the total teetotaler as far as consuming wine is concerned, but still he mentions at the end that wine is meant for the drunkards only. And then I switch over to the another part of this poem. Here the poet says, what do you think of prospects of world peace? Now it seems that the narrator is very much worried about the international affairs. The narrator is very much worried about the peace and the principle of non-violence, which is rejected by the world, because most of the countries are involved in the conflicts and there is the absence of peace, whereas he is one of the followers of peace and non-violence. Immediately after the very first line, the poet mentions that Pakistan behaving like this, China behaving like that. Here, the narrator is making a reference or giving a reference to the couple of countries in our neighborhood with whom we have the rivalship. Actually, Pakistan is the part of India once upon a time, or it was the part of India. After freedom or after independence, we got separated. And even today, we have certain traumas of our partition. And so many people did not came out of these traumas as such. Secondly, Pakistan imposed war upon us. The very first war immediately after independence, that was with Pakistan. Again in 1962, China imposed another war upon us. Again in 1965, there was a war between India and Pakistan. So there was a series of conflicts with the neighboring countries, and that's the reason that the narrator is very much worried about the uh, affairs in the Indian subcontinent. So all these developments or current affairs or international affairs are basically making the narrator very sad, and he makes the declaration very clearly here. He says, it is making me very sad. I am telling you, really, most harassing me. All men are brothers, no? Here he talks about the brotherhood concept. All men and women scattered all over the world, we should have an affinity for each other, that we are the best animal in the world. So instead of having a conflict or confrontation, it's better to have amicable and love relationship with all, and we should live together and let live others also. Now I move towards the another part of the poem. In the next section of the poem, the poet says, in India also, Gujaratis, Maharashtrians, Hindi walas, all brothers, though some are having funny habits, still you tolerate me, I tolerate you. One day, Ram Raj is surely coming. So in this expression, I remember the very speciality of our country. And that speciality is nothing but unity in diversity. Here, the poet is also making a special reference to Gujaratis, Maharashtrians, and Hindi walas. In our country, we have got different states, different cultures, different languages, different attitudes, different attire, different casine. Still, we live together. And this is the principle of unity in diversity. And this solidarity can be seen only in India. That's why the narrator is very optimistic. He says that we do accept people around us along with their good and bad habits. So if at all I have something bad, you tolerate me. If at all you have something bad, I do tolerate you. And this is how here we are trying to live together happily with lots and lots of contentment. And now in the last section or the last line of this stanza, the narrator expresses his optimism that now there is a possibility of the arrival of Ram Rajya in our country. Here, Ram Rajya or Gandhi's Ram Rajya or Aristotle's ideal state are nothing but something that is utopian. But as a matter of fact, whenever you talk about the ideal state or Ramarajya, it gives a positive connotation also and indicates that a kind of state where everybody gets equal opportunity, everybody gets right to live, everybody is treated equally, and everybody is living happily without any confrontation and conflict with others. So this should be the minimum expectation from the state. And probably the narrator is also very optimistic about it. And that's why he says, one day Ram Rajya is surely coming. And now I am going to move towards the last part of this poem. Here the poet says, you are going, but you will visit again. Here the poet says, what are we? We are just the actors and actresses in the drama of the world, as it is said by William Shakespeare. And probably it is our entry and there is our exit. We do come, we do play our role, and we do exit. So that is how is the life. Life is nothing but the point of time of birth leading to the point of time of death. And probably that is the reason that the poet is saying here, you are going, you, but you will visit again, anytime, any day. I am not believing in ceremony. I am enjoying your company. Here, the strong feeling of living together can be seen. The narrator says, you have come, you have visited, you will leave. Again, you will come some other time, some other day. This entry and exit will be a continuous process of life. But as a matter of fact, he does not believe in any kind of orthodox ceremonies and all. He is a very pragmatic kind of person. He loves the company of people around instead of just getting into a kind of karma kand. And he says that I love the company of the people around. So this is the critical appreciation of the poem written by Nizim Ezekiel, and the title of the poem is Very Indian Poem in Indian English. Thank you.